but I just want to say what a treat it is to have Ashley Kahn here. We've developed a wonderful relationship, a wonderful working relationship over this COVID time. He has been here in St. Louis before for some action and excitement and adventure, and he also just did a couple weeks ago an absolutely fantastic jazz speaks for us. But we're really glad to have him here as he talks about two artists who are going to illuminate a lot of the differences of people's approaches to music, and we'll get a chance to see how different artists approach similar topics. Ashley Kahn is one of the most noted jazz writers. Rolling Stone, New York Times, Wall Street. I mean, he's been a constant feature on a number of very important publications. Wrote one of my favorite books about the making of one of my favorite albums, Kind of Blue, and along with that has written many other books. And it's a real treat to have him back here to talk about these two great artists. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the St. Louis stage, Ashley Kahn.
Gene, thank you. Thank you so much. It's a treat to be here. Thank you all for tuning in. This is, with the realization that you guys could actually be doing a lot with your Wednesday afternoon and evening, whatever time it is where you are. And so you have many choices. I think you made the right choice by being here.
I think you did as well, man. And I will tell them that I know they made the right choice. But before we go too long, I do want to thank, and this is something that as this day has gone by, I want to make sure that we thank our sponsors today. And that is the Whitaker Foundation. People have made Whitaker Jazz Speaks possible, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. And they were also kind enough to say that we could do this virtually, give us the flexibility to make the pivot. And it's why we're able to sit here very comfortably in our homes. I would rather be in person with Ashley. I would rather have him here in town, but thank you to the Whitaker Foundation for making this possible.
This doesn't stop here. This is going to continue, Gene, this relationship, and I will make it out to St. Louis. I want to meet all of you guys face to face, so that'll happen. Big shout out to Travis Estes too for all the tech support and really standing by and making sure that this comes through in the best way possible. Guys, I'm so excited about what I have to share with you today, because not only is it about Billie and Ella, it's so easy to talk about these two mountainous, figures of influence and style and sound, who have, cast such an incredible shadow of an influence over the 20th century and into the new century now, as to how songs are sung here in America and around the world, really. But also to use them as a lens into how we ourselves listen and how we process musical identity, And this is not just jazz. You can apply some of the ideas that I'm going to share with you to all styles of music: popular music, R&B, soul, hip hop, whatever your areas of interest are. And I really want to make sure that you guys participate if you want to, that this not be just a one-way kind of thing, that if you do have questions, comments along the way, let's not wait for the Q&A section at the end. You can pop a question or a comment into the chat box, or raise your hand, as Zoom makes possible. So with that in mind, I'm going to get started. I'm going to also just share the fact that this is a presentation, less a lecture and more a presentation, that came out of my discussions with music students. So if we do have any music students out there, this is especially for you to use as a guide to grow yourself as a musician, finding your voice, developing a kind of identity through the idea of musical expression.
And I just
And
want to mention too. I think that that's so important because I think that what you have to say is really really valuable to people who are thinking about their own musical concept. And I want to encourage everybody, if you do have those questions, and please don't worry, don't leave them to the end. Put them in the Q&A. There's a little button down at the bottom that says Q&A, question and answer. Put your comments there, and I will be monitoring that so that Ashley can focus on the presentation.
so what I'm going to do is actually use slides, musical examples, a little bit of video to explain this idea of using Billie and Ella as lenses through which to see how we talk about music, how we think about music, how we process music. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen here. And sorry, I'm going to stop and make sure that I've got the sound button connected, and I do. And here we go. And I'm just going to stop the share for a second, one more time, for the reason of needing to make sure that I can see. Let's bring all to the front. And back to share screen. Thank you for your patience here. And there we go. Okay, Billie and Ella, Twin Peaks of Jazz Expression. So we are talking about jazz right now, but again, I want to make the point that this is universally applicable. You can kind of apply this, the lessons and ideas that I'm going to share with you to any style of music, really. And I encourage you to do that. Billie and Ella, I mean, you know, what can we say? They are huge. They are, when we say jazz singer, they are the first two names that come to mind, you know. And not only that, but great African-American voices, African-American legends who are known throughout the world. And, you know, I encourage you to explore every nook and cranny of their recorded catalog, you know, the incredible history of music, of what they shared with us, what they recorded over their careers, because each one of them, as they developed, you know, kind of defined a path of self-discovery that in itself is a model for how musicians find themselves even today. And when they do find themselves, when we talk about this idea, this ideal, especially in jazz, but you can apply this to other styles of music, there's this idea of the individual voice. Doesn't matter if we're talking about a singer or an instrumentalist. It's something that is instantly recognizable, from, you know, a Jimi Hendrix guitar to a Lester Young tenor solo, Miles Davis on trumpet, John Coltrane on tenor. We know it's them right away. And obviously with Billie and Ella, it's the same thing. Now, when I talk to students, music students, I go, what are we talking about when we talk about individual voice? It really breaks into two areas. Pardon me. There's technique and there's style. Technique, a very general area. I mean, these aren't hard, fast, you know, black and white separation here. But for the most part, when we talk to music students, when I'm talking to music students, technique is something that is taught. It's in performance studies in a conservatory or a jazz program at a university or whatever, you know, big band, high school big band. Technique is, you know, intonation, articulation. It's how you handle rhythm. How you handle volume, you know, and when you know, jump into the music and when you hold back and give it that restrained feel, all of that can be taught. That's something that is shared, and that is something that you have to, these are the rudiments, you have to have this stuff together. Style, that's the personal side. And this is part of that self-discovery I mentioned. The idea of phrasing and effects, accents, which is all, sounds like language. It sounds like how we talk. Everyone has their own way of phrasing, and what they hit harder, when they're talking, and this helps define who you are. Music references. This is the idea of, what are you kind of referencing? Either you're quoting something in a solo and you're an instrumentalist, or in the case of someone like Ella, as we'll see, she's just dropping in lyrics from, any which way to kind of fit the flow of the tune that she's doing. So it's this technique style thing. So let's get used to those words, technique and style. And the problem is that we often see this as a kind of opposites, the idea that it's technique versus style. Oh, that guy's too much about the notes, just technique, versus someone who really has their own kind of voice, their own style. This is really what I wanted to take away from this section of our discussion, is that it's not about these things being opposite and one canceling out the other. It's about them balancing each other. It's about technique and style, the way that they come together. And that's where individual voice happens. And so, this idea that jazz school kind of defies the ability for someone to find their individual voice, that's so not true. It's really about giving someone the tools with which to find themselves. That's what a really good jazz program does. So when we think about Billie and Ella, it is so clear that they represent these two ends of the same continuum. Ella, always praised for her technique, her intonation, her precision and rhythm, right, Gene? And we were talking about this beforehand.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like Ella Fitzgerald, I was saying before that Ella always sounds so natural in the way she does everything, that it sounds like the way you imagine your mother singing to you when you're very young, right? Because when you're young, your mother, you don't know anything about pitch or anything like that. All you know is you've got this comforting sound that's coming out. It's very natural. And I think technique is all about making it seem natural. It makes it seem natural because you've gone over it time and time and time again. And I think that one of the reasons why perhaps she was able to continue singing as well as she did into her advanced age was because of the fact that she kept what she was doing very much in the range of what she could do. She really understood the technique. So
it's so true. Yeah. However, her technique is so overpowering and so intimidating that often we forget that she has a style, And so what I'm going to do is challenge you all to listen to some music now of Ella and of Billie. And Billie, of course, is kind of the opposite of this. When we think of Billie, we're not always praising her for her time, for her intonation, for those elements of technique, and yet they are so much there. She was so able to kind of let her own style lead the way that we sometimes forget that she's a technician too. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is get you guys to see how technique and style work together when it comes to these two iconic giant artists, and how effective they are in helping us see how kind of ingrained it is in us that technique and style are often seen as polar opposites, when actually this is what they should be doing. So let's start with Ella, okay? And with Ella, what I'm going to do is focus on what was kind of the peak of her powers, the peak of her popularity and her powers, which was in the early 60s. That series of live albums that she brought out, primarily on Verve, in the early 60s, kind of cemented her reputation. Of course, there were amazing moments throughout her catalog where she's proving, just what she was possible of. But here's a video that I love. It's on YouTube. You can find it.
Thank you.
It's her in Australia in 1964, I believe.
Somewhere there's music, I'll paint the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, I'll hide the moon.
66.
There is no love when love is far away too, till it comes true that you love me as I love you. Somewhere there's heaven, it's where you are. Somewhere there's music, how near, how far. The darkest night would shine if you would come to me soon. Until you will, I'll steal my heart, I'll hide the moon. Is the name of this song. High the moon, though the words may be wrong. We're singing it because you asked for it, so we're swinging it just for you. How high the moon does it touch the stars? How high the moon does it reach up to Mars? Though the words may be wrong to this song, we're asking how high, 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 oh boy, baba bro babe, oh baba bee, how bro de baba baba dee do
I'm just stopping the music there because I just want to say, this was Ella at her best when every night she was out there on the tightrope, defying, natural laws, and really putting the technique out there first.
Actually, if I could just say, like,
sure.
the when you see the effort, it like seemed effortless, right? It seemed absolutely effortless. And that's because she put the effort in beforehand, right? She understood, she practiced and had that technique. So the breathing, she wasn't running out of breath. It seemed like when you see her body language, you can see how relaxed she is as she does this.
Absolutely.
And that comfort, right, is a sign that this is very natural to her. She understands how everything has to fit in. And I think that is like a mark of her technique.
The one thing also that I don't think she's given enough credit for is the fact that she like Billie came out of the swing era, where the idea of having this huge band behind you and dancing on that rhythm, that they're punching it out there and staying with it and riding that wave that comes from a big band is obviously where she's from. But now, she is more than Billie. She actually absorbed the advent of modern jazz, i.e. bebop, so that the harmonic dexterity and the rhythmic kind of pliability, the rhythmic flexibility that she has is on an instrumental level. I mean, the other person who comes to mind when you think about that is, of course, Sarah Vaughan, who absorbed so much of the instruction and lessons of bebop freedom, and she's applying this in such a tour de force, way that, she was at the top of her game for like 15, 20 years. Nobody could touch her. And I just want to jump ahead. And I had mentioned the idea of musical references, of bringing in other ideas from, what you know, in the way that Dexter Gordon or Sonny Rollins, not John Coltrane, but how other instrumentalists would say, here's my musical world, and I'm going to borrow from whatever I want. And here's Ella doing that same thing. Whoops. I am so sorry. Hang on a second. I need to go backwards, which means I need to stop sharing. Sorry, guys. Let's... Thank you for your patience. And here we go, back to here.
Thank you.
Hopes. All right.
Thank you. Away back home in Idaho. Hi, 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 hi is the mood. Hi, 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 hi is the moon. It's been a hard day night. And I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day night. I should be sleeping like a dog. That's all you get. That's all you get. You did it be. Well, that was high, high, high. It's the moon, and I hope I'm still in tune. High, 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 high,
I Ella, I don't think you have to worry. Your intonation is perfect. The point that I wanted to make is that, we often talk about singers having an instrument, and the voice is their instrument. And, the whole idea that Ella was pulling from not just material like Way Back Home in Idaho, which she quotes, and then she gets into a Beatles moment, which is 1966. How can you not? And when that little excerpt started, she was imitating an arco solo on a bass, and by the end, she's doing a trombone kind of moment. So her instrument is like all instruments. She was not limited in what she wanted to try and achieve with her voice. It's incredible. Now, keep this in mind, that this technique and style and the way it's balancing out when Ella was at her prime was just, these crowds around the world were just having their knocked out of their socks. She was that good. Billie is a different kind of singer, and what I want to share with you is less about her at one moment, but snippets of her along the way. And the reason I want to do that is because Billie's relationship with her music and her audience is a very more modern idea. It's the idea that she is there delivering herself through the music, i.e. style. And this is why we praise her for her style, because we feel like there's no division between her and us, that the music is delivering a very authentic kind of entry into who she is as a person, including her struggles, including everything she went through. Now, I want you to not only listen to how she's singing from back in the 40s with Louis Armstrong from the movie New Orleans, but also in the early 50s, when she is singing a song called My Man, in which she talks about the fact that domestic abuse was something that she was experiencing. And then finally, a snippet of her in 1958, just before she passes. And yes, you can see physically what she is going through, as well as hear through the music what is happening.
You gonna help us out tonight?
What do you think I'm here for? Where are they, boys?
New Orleans! New
Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans and miss it each night and day? I know I'm not wrong. The feeling's getting stronger the longer I stay away. It costs me a lot, but there's one thing that I've got. It's my man. It's my man. Cold or wet, tied your bed. All of this I'll soon forget with my man. He's not much on looks. He's no hero out of books, but I love him. Yes, I love him. 2 or 3 girls says he that he likes as well as me, but I love him. I don't know why I should. He isn't true. He beats me too. What can I do?
Would you do Don't Explain part for us?
You glad to.
Thank you, dear.
I think you get the idea. You know, Billie is someone whose life and music was. Again, I apologize.
As you're getting that back on, I mean, you know, I think we heard like the technical aspects of it, because you could hear her outlining the chords as she's singing. You can hear that, but you know that this is. If you hear it, you know exactly who it is the minute you hear it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such an idiosyncratic approach to music. But she wouldn't do. I mean, she wouldn't be singing the Beatles, right? Necessarily. She's like, it's like Ella's doing a whole lot of things and making them Ella's, taking the Beatles and turning it into Ella. But Billie's like doing her thing, but it you know, it's like it's all Billie, right? It's all about.
Well,
she's not going to choose material that's outside of her technique.
not only that, and the point that I'm making here, Gene, is that we came to expect from Billie this idea that music was almost like a confessional act in which, and this is something that would become repeated by artists like Aretha Franklin. If you look at all the tunes that Aretha herself wrote, they're very confessional. They're very private, almost like an entry into their private world that is disarming in some ways. And Billie was kind of the model for this. Her life, and I don't know why this slide doesn't want to hold on this, but you can see that her suffering and her public persona and her music were all kind of intertwined in a way that was very forward-looking for the time. Singers were deliverers of tunes, of pop tunes. That's what their job was. It was not to invest themselves and their lives and their reputation and who they were and their struggles inside the music. Billie, intentionally or non-intentionally, this can be argued in many ways, and in fact, it's the fulcrum on which this new movie about Billie rests, is this idea that her life was kind of delivered to us through her music, through her songs. Very modern idea, very forward-looking. So the idea with what Billie was able to do, even in her love songs, I mean, Strange Fruit, God Bless the Child, these are the tunes we think of as her being a little more political and a little bit more socially, conscious. Even in her love songs, like My Man, where she talks about, and he beats me too, is so out there and so naked and raw for its time. There's an incredible chapter in this book by Angela Davis that's all about this idea. It's about the love songs of Billie Holiday and how extremely modern they were in presenting the reality, the 360 reality of Black American experience for women. And I highly recommend this chapter. I have all my students read it, whether they're performance studies or whether they're just, doing cultural studies as well. So that's, again, it's the idea of style and technique coming together and how you deliver the message of a song through your individual voice and those elements of technique and style working together. So I want you to keep that in mind, because what we're going to do now for the second half of this discussion is do a deep dive into two songs that are very serious and grim in what they are about. And one is from Billie and one is from Ella. The first one is a tune that is very well known, and it's written by Abe Meeropol, a high school teacher, not a songwriter. He wrote it as a poem in 1937, Strange Fruit. Miss Otis Regrets is the tune we're going to hear by Ella from 1934 by Cole Porter, a songwriter, probably one of the best known of the great American songwriters and authors of the Great American Songbook. Both are about lynching. Both are about extreme physical violence in America. And we're going to examine how each of them, Billie and Ella, deliver this kind of message, this kind of story, and how they invested with style and technique. So we're going to start with Strange Fruit, recorded in 1939 by Billie Holiday, the Abe Meeropol poem, put to music. As we hear it, I'm going to show you the lyric, and I really want you to read the lyrics. Think about the language with which the act, this violent act of lynching, is described, and also listen to how Billie delivers it. And when she really relies on her vocal style, her vocal, the elements of her vocal, her individual voice to express what she's trying to get at within the story.
Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the tree to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop.
Almost forgot to unmute myself, something I do often. I hope that chance to hear this classic again, but with the lyric, gave you another kind of penetration, another chance to get to another level of grasping the song, and also Billie's musicality in this, especially the way that she handles the word drop in that last um, uh, verse, and then crop and the way she hangs on to it, almost like this unending scream that that she gives. Any thoughts? Anybody want to respond to this? Any comments on listening to it in this fashion? Did you was there something new that you discovered for yourself? Anyone out there?
We don't have a comment yet, but I will say that the conversational tone, and I think it like speaks to Billie's style, really struck me, because there was a lack of ornamentation, or that lack of technique, right? Of technical display, if you will. It's really it feels like she's sitting down and talking to you. There's a very conversational style to the whole thing that makes you feel like you're looking at this scene with her.
Definitely, there's this restraint in the musical. She's not doing this as a light and bubbly kind of ballad or anything. She's giving it the kind of heaviness and the weight that it deserves by not investing so much in the technique, in an obvious technique. But the technique is there in such an extreme way, especially by the time she gets to the last verse, and the need to dramatize certain feelings takes hold. And we are waiting for that to happen. The other thing is, that I really love is the extreme juxtaposition of the language, the poetic language of the second verse, of the horror of the actual lynching taking place, versus these more poetic and flowery images of that most people associate with the South. The tree.
I love that. In the gallant South, right? So in some ways, that lyric illustrates the fact that perhaps these are folks who felt that they were defending a way of life, and were in some ways heroes, and then to juxtapose that with the brutality of what's actually taking place. It's but Billie, like, in this, manages to lay it out there so nicely, that dichotomy.
And unfortunately, as you point out, Gene, there is this pointing towards the South, but obviously this is South, North, East, or West.
Here. This is. I mean, we see this today, and So, but this is very much. Because this is about. She chose this song after seeing a lynching in the South and seeing, the black bodies hanging, right?
Yeah,
from the tree.
She saw it live. Abe Mirapole, who wrote the poem, which was then put to music, his reaction was to photos, which is kind of how people in New York were experiencing it still in the 1930s. Let's juxtapose this experience, this musical experience, with not general lynching, but a specific lynching, an imaginary lynching that is at the heart of a song written by Cole Porter, and that is typical of the songbook series that Ella did for Verve in the late 50s, amongst the most important recordings of all time, if you ask me, because they really kind of took the tunes of the Great American Songbook and gave them their ultimate recordings. And on Ella Fitzgerald Sings the Cole Porter Songbook, we're going to hear Miss Otis Regrets. I want you to listen to a few things. How does, in this case, Ella balance out musicality with style? How does she read the story? What sort of emotion is she investing in it? And ultimately, what is the story? What happens in Miss Otis Regrets? And I'm going to come back to you. And this time, I'd really like to hear from our people who are listening in. What are you hearing? What is the story? Fill in the gaps for me, because not all the gaps are filled in. Not like with Billie and Strange Fruit. We know what it's about, and we know all the aspects of it. This is a little bit more evasive, a little more elusive, and I'd like you to participate and let me know what you're hearing.
Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. She is sorry to be delayed, but last evening down in Lover's Lane she strayed. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. When she woke up and found that her dream of love was gone, Madam, she ran to the man who had led her so far astray. And from under her velvet gown, she drew a gun and shot her lover down. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. When the mob came and got her and dragged her from the jail, Madam, they strung her upon the old willow across the way. And the moment before she died, she lifted up her lovely head and cried. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today.
Yeah. There's a whole sort of world of Ella and piano alone. And I hope that anyone who's listening, if you're into Ella, take a moment to explore that. There's 2 or 3 albums that are just her and piano, and which makes her kind of more naked, and you really hear her vocal skills and individuality up front when it's just her and piano alone, and that's one of the examples of it there too. So, any thoughts on that? Any comments? Like, who's speaking? Who is the speaker of this story, and what is happening? This is one of those tunes that often gets performed, and it's just done as this kind of light ballad that, is tossed out there, and yet it is so heavy. It is so heavy, and obviously something about this moment between Miss Otis and her lover which may or not have, I mean, she was led astray. Well, there's this whole idea, is it a she or is it a he? What could be so outrageous about this, personal attack, that takes place where she shoots her lover down, that would outrage a mob to break into a jail and hang the person in the jail? Well, it could be that it's a gay relationship. It could be a black-white relationship. We don't know, but there's something here. And the song, by the way, was written by Cole Porter, not for a play, not for a Broadway play or for a movie. It came out of him just sort of mimicking the country and Western music that he was listening to with these, stories of angst and murder and death. Jeffrey Dixon, offered us this thought. Yeah, we don't quite know, but something outraged this mob enough to get very violent. And many lynchings, by the way, of African Americans included a jail, breaking into a jail and taking an incarcerated person out there and saying, we're going to do our brand of justice on this person who has not had the benefit of being proven guilty or innocent.
It was very interesting, I think, to hear the darkness that crept into the second verse. So as you listen to it, if you contrast the first verse with the second, and you listen to how it's presented, there's a certain darkness that's not there, and I think it's not about the lyric itself. And I have to now I'm like very interested to go back and listen to this some more, just to feel like there's something that really changes in her tone, that really highlights. There's a sense of dread that comes in. So when you talk about who's writing this, right? It's it's sort of written from I've never thought that it's been Miss Otis writing this, which it certainly could be, but somebody else observing this, and then I'm like, well, who would be writing this on her behalf? Is it a family member?
Probably a servant? I mean, this is done in the sort of polite language of the 1930s and 40s. Miss Otis regrets she can't make it to lunch, By the way, she won't be making any other lunches forever, in fact. The idea of protecting the hard news with this very polite language of polite society of the 1930s and 40s is this kind of juxtaposition, is where the extreme emotion of this song comes from. That dissonance,
Yes.
It's horrendous.
Sharon Young's comment here actually is something that may be very illuminating. In fact, I know even in my own family history that there was an incident of somebody of a murder occurring because their outing was going to be exposed. So Sharon Young writes, I think it's from the perspective of Miss Otis, of Miss Otis's servant, and Miss Otis was passing, but it may have been discovered when she hid among blacks after shooting her lover.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, we have to fill in the blanks. And unfortunately, we have so many different kinds of stories that this could fit as the kind of mold for, and work. And the depth of the song and the way that it delivers it, I think most people, and most singers who do it, do not pick up on it. There's an incredible depth to it, and really in the language and how it's reporting the story. I mean, what I do with my students is I'll ask them, I say, okay, imagine that you're taking this story out of the newspaper, and unfortunately, or off of CNN or off the internet, and unfortunately today, with every damn traffic stop, there's another unfortunate opportunity to once again have to deal with this American violence that is so ingrained into our society, coming out of the racism, coming out of this inbred hatred that just continues. And yet, you get beautiful music like this that attempts to be able to report it. And so I asked them, how would you expect this story, if indeed it's about a black-white relationship, if it's about some sort of hidden secret coming out, if it's about a gay relationship, or anything within the LGBT spectrum that would cause this much outrage? How would you expect CNN to report this today? Miss Otis regrets. How would Fox News do it? How would MSNBC do it? And where do you get your information, these days? And so I use this as a means to really question, use this song as a lesson, that there is a way to reach out into the world and have it kind of teach you how to get your information and how to become a better person, how to evolve yourself through the harshest of these news that we have to deal with day by day, unfortunately.
Indeed. I think Sharon's like, and we're certainly free to make our own expectations. Sharon's seems to resonate. I mean, personally, like I said, having known about this particular thing, which I think there's like, I think it's kind of interesting that there's not more that's been written about it. But this notion of passing is really very compelling as far as it relates to this story. But I have to say that in thinking about technique as opposed to style, that we certainly see both of. I mean, good heavens, this performance is so magnificent, and it's magnificent because it combines both those things. You don't focus so much on the technique, even though she's got boatloads of it.
That's
but
right.
She also, Ella had a sense of style that was a little more subtle, right? Like the way she differentiated and then when she's even talking about the mob coming drag her away, every verse has its own tableau, right? It's like she's really crafted this so that everything has its own place, has its own setting.
Yeah, I mean, the song does that. It offers a singer the opportunity to kind of like peel back one layer at a time, and each verse gets closer and closer to this harsh, grim, reality of extreme violence. But it starts out so pleasant and so polite, and Ella's reading of it really, I mean, with the restraint is the power, that was Ella's, kind of turning her usual technical display on its head and saying, I'm going to pull back on that, and I'm going to let the story kind of lead here. And
yes,
it's a stroke of genius. It's that, and she had the chops to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when you're really in control of your technique, you can make it seem as if the technique doesn't exist. You don't think about the technique because it's effortless. It comes out effortlessly.
There's so many lessons on the musical side, and on the life side that come out of these two songs. And my hope is that, in sharing these kind of insights and ways of looking at it, I'm not asking everyone to agree with my interpretations or how I presented this, but to understand that there's such depth and worlds of possibility in these classics that many people have heard again and again, but haven't realized how many layers there are here. And so the takeaway really is that, how we appreciate, Billie and Ella as huge influences on 20th century singing in America and around the world. And the idea that they represent this continuum between technique and style is something that can be applied to some very serious message-giving material like these two songs. And these are two incredible displays of that. And I hope that as a result of the past hour, whoever's been tuning in, that your appreciation of Billie and Ella has been deepened, and especially that you won't be listening to Strange Fruit and Miss Otis Regrets the same way, except with added, appreciation and depth. And this is kind of, when we think about these two icons, after, I put together this for my students, this is where they belong, and that's how I feel about them. We might add, Duke and the Count there too, but that's how I feel about this music. And, it's unchanging, and the more that I'm able to share these kind of like deep dives, into their music, the more I'm convinced that this is our gift to the world. This is what makes America great. This is why I'm really glad that I was, coming out of this, this culture here. So, Gene, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this today.
Oh man, it's really been our pleasure. I want to make sure that if anybody has a chance to ask a quick question before we get on to the musical presentation that they do, we have one from Mr. Svoboda who says great. So they really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. Like I said, these are two voices that are very iconic. But I have to say, when you think about they talk about when they're talking about style versus technique, it seems that Billie Holiday, there've been a lot about, when you write about Billie Holiday, you write about the woman, right? And I don't feel that there's been as much written about Ella Fitzgerald. There's been no movie, there's been no play that I know of.
There's a new documentary, but there's no, she didn't fulfill that kind of modern way of that we approach musical legends, where we need that struggle, we need those stumbles in their personal lifestyle and whatnot. And even though she did have a struggles in her personal life.
Yeah, she was like a reform school child. Ella was a reform school child, and had kind of a tough life, and a lot. I think Ella's life story would make a great movie. I would watch it. So
I agree.
But when you get was it Diana Ross playing
Billie?
Yeah, Billie Holiday. There you go, right?
And Lady Sings the Blues. Yeah,
with Billy D. Williams too, man. And you throw Billy D. Williams in there for a little extra.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that sometimes the idea of lifestyle and the personal life now totally overshadows the musicality, and so someone who deserves some very serious study and appreciation, someone like a Rihanna in today's world, there was that moment when her Chris Brown moments, where it totally, and her struggle on that level totally overshadowed what she was doing musically. And she resented that. And, that whole moment was not a good moment for music journalism or music criticism or music reporting because it focused on lifestyle. And, that is something that sort of comes out of this, the Billie Holiday mystique, that the music reflects a personal life and it shouldn't,
Yeah.
not
Well, I
always.
guess one thing I'll maybe close on is there a are there a couple artists in pop artists perhaps that are performing now that may illustrate the dichotomy between style and technique? That you see now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Gene. I think that there are pop artists who are celebrated for their technique more than having a kind of personal style, interpretive style or whatever. Oh, and who comes to my mind, is Celine Dion, who has chops, for months. I mean, she has such an incredible range and technique, etc. But as far as a style, I don't think that she leads with that. She leads with her technique, whereas someone like a Billie Eilish today, is so much about style that it hides what sort of technical, chops she has. And then, of course, we look at someone like a Whitney Houston or an Aretha Franklin, and we see it in that perfect balance.
Indeed. I mean, especially as we like to, folks who are music critics or people who love music love to talk about the lack of audio editing. So we like to talk. When we hear, you can hear Whitney Houston's track from one of her classic songs, and you can hear just her singing. So you can hear her up at the microphone and it's doing her thing, and you can hear the clarity and the intonation and the articulation, all these technical things that we love. And you're like, wow, even stripped of all the trappings, you understand this is great. Yeah. But the thing is, you also appreciate the fact that if anybody sang the song exactly the way she sang it in their own voice, you would say you're just trying to imitate Whitney Houston, right? Because she had a style, she had an approach, right? So it's like it's yin and yang, right? It's yin and yang. Within every great performer, there's that style, and maybe that's something that takes up the most of it. But there's a little bit of the technique, right, that's in there because it has to be in there.
Yeah, it has to exactly.
Be. Otherwise, you're not. Yeah.
You can't have one without the other, and that's what yin and yang is about. And they are so intertwined sometimes that it's hard to hear where how it balances out. Not that one starts here and one ends here and another starts there. But technique and style are those two integrated elements that have to kind of go together. And when they happen so easily and organically, which you kept referring to, Gene, so much so that you don't even hear the difference.
Yes.
That's pure genius. And we're not just talking about vocalists either. I mean, you can hear this in the instrumentalists as well, where sometimes people say, oh, that too many notes. That guitarist is just all about technique, and that saxophonist, I wish he would get his intonation together, but boy does he have a great tone, And this is the same idea, this balance between the two. And what a great way of thinking about music. And I think that in a way, it makes us appreciate those who have put in the work to find their individual voice, to find out who they are and what they want to express through their music.
And I'm grateful for critics and musical thinkers like you who take both of those elements to account when they encounter a new artist. because I think that a lot of the music criticism that we get today is too ready to jump to one side rather than the other. Say, oh, this person's too technical, this person's too stylistic, rather than like looking at it, taking a step back and looking at it as a whole, right? And once again, I really applaud you for everything. I'm so grateful that we had a chance to have this conversation. We've got some wonderful music coming up now. But before we go, I just want to say how much I've enjoyed having you here tonight and how grateful I am that you've enlightened us about these two iconic artists, because they illustrate quite well something that I think is a big focus of how we view music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that even if someone, doesn't listen to it this way, it's not going to, it doesn't depreciate the way that we love these artists. But I'd love the chance to say, there's more here. There's something else to know. And Jeffrey Dixon, I'll close with a thank you to everyone who responded today. But Jeffrey makes a great point about how he wants to listen to more of the music and really listen to the lyrics and how they read the lyrics and how they convey the message of the songs using their skills.
I think he's on to he's on that path of discovery to really unlock the beauty of music. When you're really listening to think about how does the technique and the style and the raw material, the lyric, the music around it fit together. That's when you're really gonna enjoy to the fullest the musical experience. So yes, congratulations on taking this first step, Jeffrey, because you're on the right path.
Guys, I just want to also say that I think St. Louis is very, very fortunate to have Gene and his team in Jazz St. Louis. I'm kind of doing a little bit of log rolling here, but I can't wait to get back there. And so everyone, please stay safe, stay healthy, keep the music in mind, and we'll see you, face to face very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashley Kahn. Check him out online. Get his books. Read them. Anytime you can get a chance to hear him lecture online, make sure you do, because he's got a lot to say and he's very thoughtful and has some wonderful insights to share with us. And we are so grateful for you for sharing your insights with us today. And we have a great presentation. Now we're going to shift over to our musical presentation where you're going to get to hear the music of these two. And I think you get a great opportunity to hear from two local artists who embody the fact that they have great technique and great style. Both of them are going to do that. In Erika Johnson, who's going to be taking on our Billie Holiday role. And she did it very stylistically correctly, in that she even has the gardenia in her hair. And Anita Jackson, who's doing the Ella portions of things, who is a lady who has an incredible technique, but also a great sense of style. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. Please stick around and watch this incredible video with these great artists. Thank you to the Whitaker Foundation for making this possible, and thank you for your flexibility and letting us do this remotely. We're looking forward to the time when we can have everybody together. Thank you once again. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Good night, all. Thank you for being here.
what a little moonlight can do. Ooh, what a little moonlight can do to you. You're in love, your heart's a fluttering all day long. You only stutter 'cause your poor tongue just will not utter the words, I love you. Ooh, what a little moonlight can do. Wait a while till a little moonbeam comes beaming through. You get bold, you can't resist him, and all you'll say when you have kissed him is, ooh, what a little moonlight can do. Your heart's a fluttering all day long. You only stutter 'cause your poor tongue just will not utter the words, I love you. Ooh, what a little moonlight can do. Wait a while till a little moonbeam comes beaming through. You get bold, you can't resist him, and all you say once you have kissed him is, ooh, what a little moonlight can do. Ooh, what a little moonlight can do. Ooh, what a little moonlight can do.
That was What a Little Moonlight Can Do. We have Miss Erika Johnson with us today. She is playing the part of Billie Holiday, such an iconic voice, such an iconic woman and treasure we have in St. Louis who's able to do this. Give her a hand. We got Ben Reece on saxophone. Montez Coleman on drums. Bob DeBoo on bass. And my name is Adaron Pops Jackson. Once again, we're here giving a tribute to Ella and Billie. And we're so happy to be doing this part for you right now. So we're going to move now to another one of Billie Holiday's great tunes, Don't Explain.
Hush now, don't explain. Just say you'll remain. I'm glad you're back. Don't explain. Quiet, don't explain. There is nothing to gain. Skip that lipstick, don't explain. You know I love you, and what love endures. All my thoughts are of you, for I'm so completely yours. Tired of hearing folks chatter, and I know you'll cheat. Right or wrong, don't matter when you're with me, sweet. Hush now, don't explain. You're my joy and my pain. My life's yours, love. Don't explain. Don't explain. thoughts are of you, for I am so completely yours. Tired of hearing folks chatter, and I know you'll cheat. Right or wrong don't matter when you're with me, sweet. Hush now, don't explain. You're my joy and my pain, my life's yours, love. Don't explain.
That's Erika Johnson. Don't explain. Next, we're going to go to one of Billie's. I think for a lot of people, they tell me that this is one of their favorite songs by Billie Holiday. It's certainly iconic throughout the years from what she did. So we're just going to give you All of Me.
Why not take all of me? Can't you see that I'm no good without you? Take my arms, I want to lose them. Take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with these eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of sweet, sweet, day, day, do, do, day, do, 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 day. I should have did it, do, day. But the do, do, day, do, do, day, do, taro, taro, taro. Should lay, do, 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 day, do, 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 day. So do, do, be, day, obey, 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 oh, do, 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 obey. So, but obey, be, do, day, do, but obey. So hot, loud day. Sweet, do, do, sweet, oh, bit, swallow, how, eh, oh, how, who, sit, lead, oh. So, do, 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 that, do, lady, do. So, do, baby, baby, eh, oh. my arms. I want to lose them. Take my lips, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with these eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Why not take all of me? Sure, lo do 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 babe.
That was all of me. Erika Johnson. Ben Reece on saxophone. Montez Coleman on drums. Bob DeBoo on bass. And my name is Adaron Jackson. Now we're going to do a tune, another tune absolutely iconic for Billie. She was ostracized. She was blacklisted. Everything that could be done to her commercially and personally was done as a result of her singing this next tune that we're going to do. This is Strange Fruit.
Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit from the poplar trees, pastoral scenes of the gallant South, with bulging eyes and twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, and the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is the fruit for the crows to pluck, the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the wind to ride, for the tree to drop. Here is a strange and bitter cry.
Strange Fruit. Once again, it was our pleasure to bring you Billie Holiday. Our Billie today is Miss Erika Johnson. Give her a hand. We got Ben Reece on saxophone once again. We got Montez Coleman on drums. Bob DeBoo on bass. And my name is Adaron Jackson. You can call me Pops. Once again, it's been our pleasure. Thank you for watching. We got one more for you. This is Ain't Nobody's Business If I Do.
There ain't nothing I can do. Ain't nothing I can say that folks don't criticize me. But I'm going to do just as I want to anyway. And I don't care what people say. If I should take a notion to jump into the ocean, ain't nobody's business if I do. If I go to church on Sunday and then cabaret all day Monday, ain't nobody's business if I do. If my man, he ain't got no money, and I say take all of mine, honey, ain't nobody's business if I do. If I give him my last nickel and it leaves me in a pickle, ain't nobody's business if I do. That my man would hit me, then jump right up and quit me. Ain't nobody's business if I do. I swear I won't call no copper if I get beat tied up by my papa. Ain't nobody's business if I do. Well, it ain't nobody's business if I do.
A tasket, a brown and yellow basket. I sent a letter to my mommy, and on the way I dropped it. I dropped it. Yes, on the way I dropped it. A little girlie picked it up and put it in her pocket. She was a-truckin' on down the avenue with not a single thing to do. She was a pecking on the ground when she spied it all around. She took it, my little yellow basket. And if she doesn't bring it back, I don't know what I will do. A tisket, a tasket, I lost my yellow basket. And if the girlie don't return it, don't know what I will do. Oh dear, I wonder where that basket can be. Oh gee, I wonder where that girlie could be. Oh, why was I so careless with that basket of mine? That little bitty basket was a joy divine. A tisket, a tasket, I lost my yellow basket. And if she doesn't bring it back, I think that I would cry. Is it green? Is it red? Is it blue? Just a little yellow basket. Is it green? Is it red? Is it blue? It's just a little yellow basket.
How you all doing this evening? We are here doing the music of Ella and Billie. We have Anita Jackson, our vocalist for the evening, who's given us a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rendition of Ella. We got Ben Reece on saxophone. You heard him on the last tune playing a solo. We got Montez Coleman on drums. We got Bob DeBoo on bass. And my name is Adaron Jackson, Pops, if you will. I am your cruise director, as I say sometimes, for this performance. I tell you what, I'm always excited. Everyone on stage is always excited to be a part of a celebration of Ella and Billie, two absolute icons, not only just in jazz, but frankly in the musical world. We don't just revere them just with this genre of music, but we revere them for their talents and what they did throughout their history as musicians, quite frankly. Not just vocalists in terms of we think of someone just using their voice to sing, but they were musicians in the total sense of the word. The first tune we did was a Tisket and Tasket. Obviously, Ella redid that nursery rhyme when she was 19, and so we're happy to play it. We love her for it. We're now going to do a tune called Sentimental Journey. One, two,
Gonna take a sentimental journey. Gonna set my mind at ease. Gonna take a sentimental journey to renew old memories. Got my bag, I got my reservation. Spend each dime I could afford, like a child with wild anticipation. Long to hear that all aboard. Oh, seven, I'll be waiting up till 7. I'll be waiting around for thought my heart would be so yearning. Why did I decide to roam? I gotta take a sentimental journey. Sentimental journey home. Ooh. gonna set my mind at ease. Gonna take a sentimental journey to renew old memories.
That was Mr. Bob DeBoo. That was Sentimental Journey. We have Ben Reece on that, also on saxophone. We're now going to move to Stompin' at the Savoy.
Savoy, 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 to dance. Your form, your lips, your cheek, divine. How my heart is singing while the band is swinging. Never tired of romping and stomping with you at the Savoy. What joy! Savoy, Savoy, with you.
Happy days are here again. The sky's above a clear again. Let us sing a song of cheer again. Happy days, the boca, the boca, the boca.
Ooh, my, 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 my. Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. She's sorry to be delayed, but last evening down on Lover's Land she strayed. Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. When she woke up and found that her dreams of true love were gone, oh, madam, she ran to the man who had led her so far astray. And from under her velvet gown, she drew a gun and shot her lover down. Madam, so Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. When the mob came and got her and dragged her from the jail, oh, madam, they strung her up upon the willow across the way. And the moment before she died, she lifted her lovely head and cried, Madam, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today.
That was a classic by Miss Ella Fitzgerald. That's Anita Jackson singing Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today. We got one more for you. We're going to end this set out swinging like we came in. This is It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. Mr. Duke Ellington. Check out Ella and Duke's collaborations. Amazing. Once again, Anita Jackson on vocals. Ben Reece on saxophone. Montez Coleman on drums, Bob DeBoo on bass, and my name is Adaron Pops Jackson on piano. It's been our pleasure to play for you. So here we go. One last one for Ella. This is It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. 1, 2, 1, 2,
'It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. wow. It don't mean a thing. All you gotta do is swing. Wow. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you've got. Hey, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Oh, yeah, da 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 da. Ba ba da 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 da. Do do ba do ba da da da. Ba da ba da. Ba da 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 ba da. Do 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 ba da do do. Dum dum dai. Do 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 da do 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 ya da ba ba. Do da do do da 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 do da 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 ba da do da. Ba da 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 do da do da. Ba da 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 do da do da do 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 ba da da do do da. Day do do da. Be da ba da be do do da be do do da. Do